Hey everybody, Rachel here from Rachthestamper.com, and I have these adorable cards that I'm going to share with you today. These actually use a couple different portions of stamps, dies, etc., only because I kind of changed up the sentiment a little bit. So this actually uses the Trees for Sale stamp set, which you all know I'm not a big fan of photopolymer, but this stamp set, first of all, was adorable. I love this here. It's so cute. Lots of really pretty examples, and I think the reason I like it so much is because it's in non-traditional Christmas colors, which remind me very much of like a 60s kind of theme, which I think is adorable. So you purchase the stamp set here, and they also have little dog running, little dog footprints, which are so cute. And then if you order during celebration, so this is a limited time, you get the tree lot dies with free with a $100 purchase. So you get, this is a lot of dies. There are also, unfortunately, I don't have a celebration brochure because I'm a lame-o and I forgot to order them. So I have no extra ones, but look, little Charlie Brown Christmas tree, which is so cute. There is, you can do a white camper. This one is gold. I love the little lights that are hanging up because, as ironically, there is a trailer that does sell Christmas trees near us out of a little camper like this, which is so cute. But lots of fun stuff that you can use this for. Another cool thing is you can even do white heat embossing on this. You could emboss this onto plaid paper as they showed here, which is really cute. I'm going to show you another way that you can do the trees as well, because you can do them different. But I also love just the all different, like, remember when, I think it was in Charlie Brown, as a matter of fact, when they started talking about the tinsel and the tin Christmas trees, which are cute. Maybe not in theory necessarily, but I guess to each his own, right? So I'm going to show you guys how to do this card today. Let me just put this up here so it's out of the way. Close that up. All right, so you can get all the supplies needed to make this card in my online store, rachthestamper.stampinup.net, and we're going to get started. So this one, I actually used the dies and cut out the trees, and you can see a couple of them I left pieces in. I've also done a version where I've just stamped the trees on white, and this is actually the same ink. This is shaded spruce stamped off and then full strength ink. So I'm going to show you how to do this. One other part we use for this, which is a great stamps or die set, I should say. It's called the Basic Borders Dies. I actually have something else I'm going to show you with this in another video very soon. But this is the cloud line that we're going to use for this. It's the only thing we're using out of this. This is super handy, and when I show you the other card, you're really going to love it. It's really neat. So Trees for Sale is this, and then here are all of the dies. You can see it is a lot of dies. So you have a detail tree and then an outline tree. Here's your little Charlie Brown style Christmas tree, which is adorable. They give you multiple bows. There's curtains for the windows. You have the lights, the stand to hold the lights up, little banner, paw prints. I don't know if those are paw prints. Maybe they're tree. No, the tree stands are. These are the tree stands. They're not bows, Rach. Jeez Louise. We do have bows, but those are definitely not it. And then this one is actually a detailed part, so you can add a little bit more dimension to your trailer. So lots of fun things to do with it. Now, I have almost all of this stuff pre-cut. The only thing I didn't pre-do was the trees. So if you were doing a tree, just tone on tone. So this is the solid image stamped in shaded spruce that's been stamped off, and then I did the detail image in full strength shaded spruce, which is super fun. The only other reason I brought these two out for you to see is I did the happy birthday on this one here, and that's from the Waves of Inspiration stamp set, in case you might have it. You could also use Inspired Thoughts. If you wanted something a little bit more Christmassy, you could certainly make it something like that. You light up the season, Christmas greetings, lots of different choices, but I think we're going to go with Inspired Thoughts for this one. So I'm going to keep these two on top because these are what I need. And again, I did do a lot of this ahead of time, so I'm going to show you. One thing that I thought was really a good bonus to this whole situation, as I'll call it, is adding different layers to your camper. Now, this could take some time, and if you don't want to invest this time, you certainly don't have to do it, but if you're just sitting around, a lot of times I will watch old musicals. So the current musical I'm watching, so I have a piece of vellum here. I'm going to show you this piece of vellum, and I actually went ahead and let me just go back a step here. I die cut the trailer in black, and the reason being is I wanted the hitch and the tire to be black. Then I die cut another trailer in Bermuda Bay. I cut off the hitch, and I kind of just went around that because I wanted this to look like the hubcap was a different color. Then we also have that 2 little pieces I was showing you. They will line up here in white, and they do have some embossed details to them, which is really cute. And then this is going to be in the background as the window portion. So I'll explain that in a minute. And I lost, nope, there it is. I saved these 2 pieces from Bermuda, and I'm going to show you what we're going to use them for. So if you don't want to use those, you don't have to. But what I did, and you can see depending on the amount of glue, I actually, you know what, as a matter of fact, I put some Wink of Stella on this because it kind of hid a little bit of the glue back here. And I forgot to do it on this one. But if you go over this after the fact with some Wink of Stella, it almost can kind of mask your glue a little bit. And then I did the door just because I thought it was cute. Forgot to do this when I did this one yesterday. Okay, there's that. So you have your little sparkly windows, okay? This one I did with, in the background is actually Pool Party, so it's a little bit lighter. So it's a little bit not as noticeable when you're seeing the glue on there, but just, you could do it really whichever way you want. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start by putting the vellum onto the back. You can either put it on this one, or if you want, you can put it on the Bermuda. Really just depends. I'm going to put mine on the Bermuda, and we're going to start assembling from there. So what I generally do when I'm making cards or designing cards, or if I'm making thank you cards for customers, is I usually watch older musicals. And I don't know how old you want to say older is. I guess it's all relative, right? But I love watching musicals. So some of my favorites to watch, which I only recently started watching because a lot of these I just didn't know about. And I'm going to put a little bit of glue here and on the window. And what I'm going to do before is I'm actually going to smooth it around a little bit so it's a little bit more even. And then I'm going to pick up the cutout and just set it right in the space for both of them. So I might need a little bit more glue. And then I'm going to flip it and just make sure it's mostly lined up. It doesn't have to be perfect. And if you're worried about this piece here, the other thing you could do is you could just use a piece of Scotch tape and hold it in place. Or even if you wanted to, the other thing you could do is just a little piece of washi. And once you kind of temporarily put it on there, hold that in place. This one's a little bit too long. I'm going to rip that a little bit, but then that will hold those in. And then you shouldn't have quite as much. And you can see the glue is pretty much dissipated. So I'm going to just do the Wink of Stella really quick while I'm thinking of it. So I watched Hello Dolly, which I fell in love with, sadly, only due to hearing the song on Wall-E. You guys know I'm a big Disney fan. So if you go outside the lines, it's okay. No big deal. No one's judging. I'm not judging your card. So then we're going to layer this onto the black. So we're just going to put some glue really in kind of random areas. Make sure you get a little teeny bit on that hubcap spot. And same thing, just layer this on top. I just watched for the first time, not this past Christmas, but the Christmas before, Meet Me in St. Louis, which is kind of a unusual musical to watch. Only because some of the stuff, I think these days, like, I can't remember what the little girls' names are. I feel like one of them is Tootie, and I can't remember what the other girl's name is. But the fact of them laying the dress so it looked like somebody ran it over, wow, we've definitely come far in that being hilarious versus not, I guess, thinking of the time that those movies were made. I guess you can give it a little bit of leeway, but it's kind of crazy at the same time because all I'm thinking to myself is I would beat Christian's butt if he ever did something that he thought was hilarious like that. So there's your trailer. What I'm going to do is I'm going to, and we also have our green pierced here we're going to use for something. We have a piece of balmy blue, and this is for the clouds, a piece of just white. So we're going to do the trees, and I'm actually going to do those first because they are going to take a little bit to cut them. And I think I'm going to do 3. So let me just pull those 3 dies out. And I'm going to show you one other thing. Now, I originally did these in Old Olive and Mossy Meadow, and I didn't really like them. So when I did them a second time, I did them with Granny Apple Green and Garden Green. So they were kind of a little bit brighter, but I still didn't love them quite as much then. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to do Pear Pizzazz and Shaded Spruce when I cut these out. So, oops, and I'm missing one. Here it is, one little tree. So I'm going to cut the solid images in Pear Pizzazz, and then I'm going to cut the portion that lays on top of it, so the more detailed part, that in Shaded Spruce. I just have to pull those out. It's the only thing I didn't think about. And since we're doing it now after the fact, what I'm also going to do is I'm going to put some adhesive sheet, because it will make it a little bit easier to pull these apart and lay them on top. Let's see if this is going to fit. Nope, that's a little too thin. Not this piece. Nope, still too thin. I'll just pull out a bigger scrap piece. So I'm going to pull a little bit of adhesive sheet and put on the back of this, which will make it altogether easier to put these pieces onto. Oh, that's watercolor paper. All right. So we do sell, and I have a brand new package, so I'll show you what it looks like. Adhesive sheet, and it's 6 by 12. You get 12 pieces. It's 1, 5, 2, 3, 3, 4. This is great for making pretty much anything into a sticker. It's super easy to use. You can put it on stuff ahead of time if you know you're going to use a lot of something. So I just usually cut it into little pieces, and I'm going to put this on here and here. You should be able to get those 3 trees in. One other thing I want to tell you, with the backing of this paper, because it is a like a wax-like paper, if you ever need to do some blending, so for example, if you're going to do some blending on something, you don't want to get your fingers dirty, you can actually hold it in place with this, because it does slip along the paper and move. So I'll try and remember to use that and show it to you, but it does make things a lot easier. So I'm going to go ahead and line these 3 things up. I'm going to die cut those, and then we're going to do our 3 trees on this piece of Granny Apple Green. See if I can pop all these on the same side. But so anyway, I really enjoy watching musicals. I've always loved watching musicals. I love The Wizard of Oz. I love South Pacific, Sound of Music, all of those. And it's really nice when you're crafting, because typically musicals are usually, except for, like I was saying, Meet Me in St. Louis is kind of a little bit crazy of a musical with some of the, I guess it's just because of the season they go through. And also the other part that's kind of crazy to me is the, I guess it's like pre-Halloween portion of that movie is just, I don't know. Like the fact that they are throwing flour in people's faces. Was that really a thing? I mean, I hate to sound like I'm being a snot about it, because I really don't mean to come across that way, but who thought that was a good idea? I mean, I guess it's much better that we're giving out candy now than throwing flour. And if you wet the flour, one of the people said, if you wet the flour, it'll stick to their face more. Like, who thought that was a good idea? I just wonder. All right, so I'm just going to pop these out. These come out really quickly. I did run it back and forth just because I didn't want anything to get stuck. And I'm going to show you one other thing when I'm finished. But I'm just going to run these through. Now, this will typically come really easily off. I shouldn't say easily off. I didn't mean to say that. This should remove most of the debris that's kind of associated with this. If you pull it off and you kind of pre-poke the holes, you can see almost everything is gone, which is great. So I'm going to just take this and layer it onto the largest tree. So the fact that that has adhesive on it makes it super, super simple. And let me just pop this one out. I was never really a big fan of that brush that we had for some time. I think there's also one that goes on the take your pick tool, just because it always seemed like it roughed up the cardstock in my opinion. So I've always kind of been a fan of the paper piercer. So same thing again, just pulling it. You do want to be a little bit gentle because if you do pull too quickly, and I've done this before, you can actually rip some of these layers because they are pretty slim. So just thinking about that. I'm going to try and do this one without pulling it off just to see how easy it is. And most of the stuff, I think because I did it twice, typically does come out. I got 2 little spots here that didn't go. So using your paper piercer or your take your pick tool. I have so many paper piercers just from my many, many years of crafting. I don't even know if we sell this as a standalone thing any longer. But all right, one other thing I want to show you, and I'm going to move this. I'm going to grab a little piece of scrap paper just to show you. I'll fold this in half. You can see all my prior trees. Is if you put your trees, and you don't want it to be super dark. So I'm going to just stick with, what do I want to use? I'm going to stick with Pear Pizzazz. Okay. And I just have a blending brush. I'm going to try and remember to show you this. So I'm going to use this to kind of hold it still. And just a little bit, you just add a little bit of shading to this. It kind of gives a little bit more depth. So this is pretty just standard bright green. It gives a little bit more depth to your tree. And remember, you don't need to do a lot because it is going to be behind. It's going to be behind your camper for the most part, but it just gives a little bit of color. So then what you do is you'll get the ink on here and you won't get it on your fingers. So that's something else you can try just in case you've never done that before. All right, that was Pear Pizzazz. And that was just because my granny apple I still hadn't put away. Okay, so let me move all these scraps over. Move this out of the way. So we do have a teeny bit more die cutting to do. And then we have one other thing to do here, which I'm still going to need that back. So I have a piece of, I'm going to measure this for you. I feel like it's about 2.5. Nope, 2 inches by, should be 5 and, oh, this is a little bit longer. 2 inches by 5.5. Probably want this to be about 5.25, but we can trim it up after the fact. So what you're going to do with this is you don't want to rip it halfway. You kind of want to do like 2/3. So you're going to just rip straight across. Then you're going to take, once again, your scrap. And I think I'm going to grab just a little bit darker of an ink. I'm going to go with Garden Green. Still haven't replaced that broken stamp pad because, you know, frugal. So same thing, I'm going to a darker ink. I'm going to put this down and I'm just brushing the edges of it just to give a little bit of color depth. Once again, for this one. And if you want to, you could even create a little bit of like a mound look of grass. But that's basically it. I am going to keep this out because while we're here, I'm going to just go ahead and stamp my sentiment. And I think I'm going to use, thank you so much. Just for, I don't know, what the heck. Thank you so much. And I believe instead of Garden Green, though, I'm going to go with Shaded Spruce, just a little bit darker. And I'm going to stamp this. We're going to put this, most of my sentiments have been on the right, probably because I'm right-handed. I'm going to put this one on the left this time. Just make sure it looks nice. There you go. And the reason I want you to stamp your sentiment ahead of time with this is because the first time I did it, I made it after the fact, and this was already here, and I kind of squeezed it in, and everything's a little bit crooked. This one, I probably could have put my trailer up a teeny bit higher, but I was competing with trees, and I didn't do such a good job there either. But you know what? Live and learn, which is why I'm sharing with you. So these pieces we're going to put on the side. We're going to take, I'm going to die cut this first, and then we will do our other part. So I'm going to take my cloud die, and I kind of just lined it up wherever I thought I wanted it to be. Keep in mind, you're going to have the sky behind, so you want something if you want it to be a shorter sky, but I kind of went with a little bit high. So I kind of went about like that, probably the upper third to lower third. I'm going to run this through my die cut machine. And then we'll do a little bit more ink blending. And And then we'll put the whole thing together. So this does cut, and it also stitches, which is adorable. It also stitches the top. I'm not sure what we would do with that, but you never know. You could always keep this if you needed to add a sentiment or something to it. So that is the cloud die. Again, that's in the Basic Borders die. Super adorable. I'm going to take my Starry Sky ink and a blender brush. And I'm going to do Starry Sky over here, just kind of on the edges. A couple of these I got a little bit darker than originally wanted to. This one looks like there's definitely a storm brewing in the background, versus here it's just a little bit of a light sky. So it really just depends on what you're going for. I'm going to see what this looks like. This is just enough. I'm not going to go in. I didn't even re-ink it. So just a little bit. So again, that was Starry Sky. Brand new ink color, beautiful color, probably one of my favorites. I must say I love these ink colors. They're super pretty. All right, so now all we have to do is pretty much put our, oh, got a little bit of green on there, put our card together. And the reason I got green, keep this in mind, because I was right over here blending and I was probably picking up that ink. So this is going to be a very strange, this is probably a pre-tornado cloud. So just keep that in mind when you go camping. I do need to trim this down just a smidge. I missed a 1/4 inch on this one. So I'm going to cut this down to 5 1/4. All of these pieces are 5 1/4 because we do have a layer that it's laying on. Okay, so this is going to go on a base of thick white. This is 8 1/2 by 5 1/2, scored at 4 1/4. I'm going to save this for the end. We're going to put all of our other stuff together first. So now all we have to do is kind of layer everything together. So we're going to have our clouds, and I definitely would say to do a dry run. Make sure you like what this looks like. These layers are going to just kind of get glued, so it looks like there's 2 pieces. Does not need to be super precise. Grab this one more time because I use this a lot so I don't gum up my paper that's fresh and clean, because I do that a lot. I think I stop, and there you go, I'm over just a smidge. I'm going to lay this on the front, give it a press, and then before I'm really fully done, I'm going to flip it over and make sure it doesn't need to go up any higher, any lower. That looks pretty good, just like that. Same thing, this is just a smidge too long, so I am going to need to trim this off. But if you want to have more grass, okay, you do need to be mindful of where you sit your sentiment. But here you can always even move this up a little bit if you wanted to, because you have your green at the bottom, so you're not going to miss anything. You just trim a little bit off here. Just slightly off with my measurements this time. Okay. And we're going to just put this together. So just liquid glue tends to be easiest, personally for me anyway, because in case you goof something up, you can always move it. I'm going to just lock these down to the bottom edge and be happy with where they are. Okay. I'm going to do the same with this one. Oh, heavens, look at that. I cut it just a smidge too short. Well, you know what? I'm going to have to cut the whole thing. Well, I'm glad I saw that before I put it together, because that would not have been good. So this is 5 1/4. What did I do this to? Oh, it was less. It's like 5. What is that? Oh, 5. Look at that. I did 5 1/8 instead of 5 1/4. Oh, girl. What are we going to do with you? No worries. That's why it's always nice to check that everything is lined up right before you adhere it, right? That way you save yourself a little heartache and you don't have to rip your stuff off. Which is also probably a great thing about crafting with your own supplies, because you have everything you need and there's no surprises. All right, so now the only thing we have to do is kind of our final layout here. So since we have our sentiment on this side, I'm going to put this over here. We're going to see where we want it. I think I might go like this time. I'm going to put the trees flat, but I'm going to pop the camper up on dimensionals, because this card, the trees were flat, this was popped up. This card, I popped up everything, and then, oops, dog hair, realized that I had so many things popped up, I had to cut an extra tree and put it in the background. So I kind of like the fact of the camper and these 2 trees popped up. So maybe we're going to do that. I'm going to put this here. I'm going to put this one down flat. I think I still might do the other ones. So So do you have something that you love to watch while you craft? Is there something that is your go-to thing that you can always rely on, that's something that either makes you happy or something that is just mindless for you? Because I have also tried, and you all know, again, I love Disney. I love watching Disney movies. I've tried watching Disney movies, but the problem is, even though it's a movie I probably have seen many times before, I don't seem to get a lot of actual crafting done, because somehow I always get immersed into watching the movie, which is probably silly, but you know, I'm a very large child, so there's that. Let's see what this looks like. Well, that still looks really cute. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and definitely put this one down. So I just put some mini dimensionals because that was what I had. You could totally use regular size. I also used black dimensionals just because for some reason I seem to have ordered a lot of these, and I usually use the larger ones, but I always end up with the small ones left over. So I kind of figured since I was on the back of darker cardstock, I would use this. And I just want to, before I really press, make sure that's, yep, in the right spot. So there's that one. Let's just take another peek here. We want this to be like, kind of like that. All right, so I'm going to leave him here, pull the backs off of my smallest tree. If there is something you would like to see made, I did see an adorable card. Actually, Erica Serwin created a Christmas version of this not long ago, which I thought would be cute as a shaker card. So I think I might try to pull that one off because I think it would be absolutely adorable. Now I'm going to just add some dimensionals to my trailer, but what I'm going to do is I'm trying to make sure I avoid the outer ends. So I'm going to concentrate on the middle, make sure I have one on the wheel, because if I put too many, I'm going to run into the problem where I had yesterday where I couldn't fit them all in because there was just too many dimensionals in one spot. I'm going to put one down here on the wheel. And then we're going to do the same thing again. Oops. One over here. Missed. I kind of find that these little dimensionals are easier to put on if you do them in groups of 2, which you might wonder why I'm always doing them that way. Let's just make sure I don't need anything extra. No, I think I finally did it the way I should have. That looks good. So I'm just going to pull these off. But I find that if you have them in 2s for some reason, when you see here, they're kind of easier to pull the backings off of. So, plus sometimes the single tiny dimensionals are almost a little bit too small unless you have a really small area. And should we talk about the fact that we have this really psychedelic version here from the background with that washi tape, which is adorable, but ooh, if that's the kind of camper you see, you probably should stay away from that, right? But other side is really cute. All right, and that does nicely hold everything in place. And you might feel like you need something for your hitch, but honestly, it's pretty good that you don't really have to have something there. All right, let me see if I can get these, because otherwise one of these is going to get inadvertently stuck to this card. All right, and the only thing we have to do now is just add our base and give that a good press, and put some glue on the back here, just like so, and press. I think that's such an adorable card. I just love it. So many things you could do with this camper, though. Just as a really quick, I just want to show you a couple things. Maybe, where are they? Here they are. Maybe you might not have recognized. So it does have these cute little curtains. So to cut out little curtains you could put behind there. It also has this one. Here's the top and bottom. So that's what that part looks like. It also has little flags that you could put up if you wanted to decorate it with a little flag. There's also a cute wreath for the door, which I think I'm going to do something with that. So the wreath and that little bow go together, so you can cut those out. So I'm definitely going to have to make a Christmas version of this just because it's so cute. So cute. There's a lot of parts and pieces to these dies. There's also a great die cut for the trees for sale here, which is adorable. So, oh, and then maybe these are the snowflakes. Now, They look like bird prints. Maybe they're bird prints. I don't know. I'm going to have to die cut those to figure out what they are. But anyway, this is the finished card that we created today. So again, I do have a couple different versions. I do think that I really, really like these tree colors. Probably don't want the green clouds in the sky, because if so, you need to get your car and take that thing away really quickly. I also really like the back of this one with the lighter pool party windows is really cute. I want to have to do one with the little curtains in there because I think that'll be adorable as well. But we have lots of examples to look at in the celebration catalog, which is another reason I need to order myself a batch of those, because I like to keep them just for the ideas. I know I can look at them online, but there's something really nice about having a catalog in your hands. So if you happen to be a customer of mine, you should have received your catalog by now, because they should all be out and live and active. If you don't have a demonstrator and you're looking for someone, if you send me an email, I will send you a catalog complimentary. I just need your full mailing address, including your zip code, and I can only, excuse me, I can only sell in the United States. So if not, we do have actually 2 new markets opening soon. I believe it is Ireland, and I cannot remember the other place, but that's pretty exciting. So we can share Stampin' Up! With more of the people across the globe. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this card, please leave me a comment. Let me know what you'd like to see done next. If you think you know someone who would love this card, make sure you share this video. You can also like my channel and subscribe. And if you do, make sure you turn on notifications. There's a bell. And if you click it when I make a video, it will let you know, so you're aware. I will have all the measurements for this on my blog, which is also going to be linked below the description of the video. And it also has a full supply list and all of the shopping links. So if there's anything you need, please feel free to contact me. Thank you so very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed following along with me with this card as much as I enjoyed making it. Have a great day.